Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today the topic of discussion is cardiac cycle. So by definition, the cardiac cycle is the sequence of events that occur from the beginning of one heartbeat to the beginning of the next heartbeat. So this sequence of events is called as cardiac cycle. Each cardiac cycle is initiated by the spontaneous generation of an action potential in the sinus node. Now there are two phases of cardiac cycle. One is the phase of contraction or systole and second is the phase of relaxation or diastole. The duration of cardiac cycle and its relationship with the heart rate is important. The total duration of the cardiac cycle, including both systole and diastole, is the reciprocal of the heart rate. For example, if the heart rate is 72 beats per minute, the duration of the cardiac cycle is reciprocal or 1 by 72 beats per minute. So from here, we can calculate the duration of cardiac cycle to be about 0.0139 minutes per beat or 0.833 seconds per beat. So the cardiac cycle total time duration for the appearance of one heartbeat to the next heartbeat is 0.83 seconds on average. So these are the details of the conduction system of the heart, which we learned in our previous lecture. And the cardiac cycle events of cardiac cycle, they begin by the spontaneous generation of action potential at SA node, and then different phases and events of cardiac cycle appear or they correlate with the transmission of this impulse through different areas of the conduction system. So you just revise the sequence of events in the generation of cardiac impulse and its relationship with the cardiac cycle. Stages of cardiac cycle. As we know, all the chambers within the heart experience alternate periods of contraction and relaxation. So these contractions and relaxations are termed as systole and diastole respectively. Systole is the contraction of cardiac chambers and diastole is the relaxation during which the filling of the cardiac chambers with blood takes place. Effect of heart rate on the duration of cardiac cycle. When the heart rate increases, that is in rapidly beating heart, the duration of each cardiac cycle decreases. So there is a less time spent in the diastole and systole of the cardiac cycle. At a normal heart rate of 72 beats per minute, systole comprises about 0.4 second of the entire cardiac cycle, whereas at 3 times the normal heart rate, like if you are exercising or in any condition when heart rate is 3 times the normal, systole is about 0.65 second of the entire cardiac cycle. So what is electrocardiogram or ECG is the record of overall spread of electrical activity through the heart. We will learn the details of ECG in separate lecture, and in this topic we will discuss only the relationship of different waves with the events of cardiac cycle. So electrocardiogram or ECG represents the recording part of the electrical activity induced in the body fluids by cardiac impulse that reaches the body surfaces. This is not a direct recording of actual electrical activity of a heart, but this is a recording of overall spread of activity throughout the heart during depolarization and repolarization in different parts of the heart. So we can record the electrical activity of heart by placing the electrodes on your body surface and then recording the different waves of ECG. So these are the different waves of ECG. You can see there is a P wave, which is because of the depolarization of ventricles, and then P wave is because of the depolarization of atria. Then there is a QRS complex or a combination of 3 waves, a Q and R and a small S wave. This is because of the spread of depolarization through the ventricles. And a T wave after the depolarization, it represents the repolarization of ventricles. So here you can see that repolarization of ventricles is represented by T wave, but there is no wave for the repolarization of atria after the P wave, because the repolarization of atria is an electrical event that is masked by the appearance of QRS complex in the ECG or normal electrocardiogram. Electrocardiogram shows P, Q, RS and T waves, which are electrical voltages which are generated by the heart and recorded by the electrocardiograph from the surface of the body. The P wave is caused by spread of depolarization through the atria. About 0.16 second after the onset of P wave, the QRS waves appear as a result of electrical depolarization of the ventricles, and this corresponds to the delay of 0.16 second in the AV node for the transmission of conduction, impulse conduction. Finally, one observes the ventricular T wave in the electrocardiogram. This represents the stage of repolarization of the ventricles when the ventricle muscle fibers begin to relax. So these are the different phases of cardiac cycle. Basically, the cardiac cycle, it comprises of systole and diastole. And for the purpose of understanding, the diastole is further divided into first, second, and 3/3 of the cardiac cycle. Here in this diagram, you can see the systolic and diastolic phase. The systolic phase is shorter as compared to the diastole, and diastolic phase is divided further into 1, 2, and 3 portions. And here you can see the different waves and different curves and graphs in this diagram. The first 3 graphs, they represent the pressure changes in aorta, atria, and ventricles, whereas the fourth graph shows you in blue the ventricular volume, changes in the ventricular volume. The 5th one is the electrocardiogram, or the appearance of P, Q, RS, and T waves in different phases of cardiac cycle. And phonocardiogram is the recording of the sounds which are generated by the valves of the heart. So now we will take the events of cardiac cycle as one by one, and it's very important to understand all the events of cardiac cycle and the details of this diagram. So first curve was about the pressure changes in the atria. There are 3 changes in the atrial pressure curve. The A wave is caused by atrial contraction. Ordinarily, the right atrial pressure increases 4 to 6 millimeter of mercury during atrial contraction, and the left atrial pressure increases about 7 to 8 millimeters of mercury. The C wave occurs when the ventricles begin to contract. It is caused partly by slight backflow of the blood into the atria at the end of ventricular contraction. And the V wave occurs towards the end of ventricular contraction. Here you can see the A, C, and V are the small pressure changes in the pressure of the left atrium. Now the blood volumes during cardiac cycle, and diastolic volume, as the name implies. This is the volume of the blood in the ventricles at the end of diastole. Normal filling of the ventricle is up to the 110 to 120 milliliters of blood. The fraction of the end diastolic volume that is ejected is called the ejection fraction, and it is usually equal to about 60% of the entire volume. So end diastolic volume is 120 ml, and out of this 60% is ejected with each contraction. Stroke volume output is the blood ejected during systole, and this is about 70 milliliters, and end diastolic volume is the volume remaining in the ventricles, almost 40 to 50 ml. When the heart contracts strongly, the end systolic volume can be decreased to as little as 10 to 20 ml. Aortic pressure curves. When the left ventricle contracts, the ventricular pressure increases rapidly until the aortic valve is pulled into an open position. The entry of blood into the arteries causes the walls of these arteries to stretch and the pressure to increase to about 120 millimeters of mercury. So this is also the upper range of systolic blood pressure. A so-called incisura occurs in the aortic pressure curve when the aortic valve closes. After the aortic valve has closed, the pressure in the aorta decreases slowly throughout the diastole to about 80 millimeters of mercury, which is also the lowest level of BP, diastolic blood pressure. So here you can see the changes in aortic pressure, which goes almost to the peak of 120 millimeters of mercury during systole and returns back to the 80 millimeters of mercury at the end of systole. Filling of the ventricles during diastole. The period of rapid filling lasts for about the first 1/3 of the diastole, and during this time, the blood flows automatically from the major vessels into the atria and then into the ventricles. During the middle third of diastole, however, only a small amount of blood normally flows into the ventricles, and this is the blood that continues to empty into the atria from the veins and passes through the atria directly into the ventricles. And during the last one third of diastole, the atria contracts and gives an additional thrust to the inflow of blood into the ventricles, and this accounts for about 20% of filling of the ventricles during each heart cycle. So we can say that atrial contraction contributes to towards the ventricular filling 20% of the filling, and atria acts as a primer pump for the ventricles before contraction. Emptying of the ventricles during systole. There is a period of isovolumic or isometric contraction. During this period, contraction is occurring in the ventricles, but there is no emptying. This is called the period of isovolumic or isometric contraction, meaning that tension is increasing in the muscle because of the filling, but there is little or no shortening of the muscle fibers. That's why this is called as the period of isovolumic contraction. Then there is a period of ejection. When the ventricular muscles contract, about 70% of the blood emptying occurring during the first third of period of the ejection, and the remaining 30% empties during the next 2/3. Then there is a period of isovolumetric relaxation. At the end of systole, the ventricular muscle continues to relax, even though the ventricular volumes do not change, giving rise to the period of isovolumic or isometric relaxation. During this period, the interventricular pressure decreases rapidly back to their low diastolic levels. Then the AV valves open to begin a new cycle of ventricular pumping. So these are the valves which are present in the atrioventricular chambers. There are mitral and tricuspid valves between right and left atria and ventricles, and there are aortic and pulmonary valves which are present between aorta and left ventricle, and pulmonary artery and right ventricle. So there are chordae tendineae, which are small tendinous structures which are attached by means of papillary muscles to the AV valves, and they are responsible to prevent the backflow of the blood into the atria during the ventricular contractions. And they are also responsible for appearance of sounds in the valves, which can be recorded by means of phonocardiogram. So what is the relationship of heart sounds to the heart pumping? When the valves close, the veins of the valves and the surrounding fluids vibrate under the influence of sudden pressure changes, giving off sounds that travel in all the direction through the chest, and it can be recorded by means of stethoscope. The first heart sound is caused by the closure of AV valves, that is mitral and tricuspid valves, whereas the second heart sound is caused by the closure of the semilunar valves. Here in the last graph of the diagram, you can see the phonocardiogram, that is the first heart sound begins by the closure of AV valves, and the second heart sound appears at the closure of the semilunar valves. Where there is a third heart sound which you can see in the middle third of the diastole, and this is because of the rapid filling of the ventricles with the blood, and occasionally it can be heard with the stethoscope, but usually only two first and second heart sounds are audible. Now the concepts of preload and afterload are important in relation to the cardiac cycle. The degree of tension on the muscle when it begins to contract is called the preload, or we can say preload is the tension in the cardiac muscle prior to the contraction, and it is usually considered to be the end diastolic pressure when the ventricle has become with the blood and the muscles of ventricles are fully tensed because of the filling of the chamber with the blood. The load against which the muscle exerts its contractile force, which is called the afterload. The afterload of the ventricle is the pressure in the aorta leading from the ventricles. So we can say afterload is the load against which the ventricle has to contract. This is the pressure in the aorta, and it corresponds to the changes in the pressure in the aorta. The importance of the concepts of preload and afterload is that in many abnormal conditions of the heart or circulation, the pressure during filling of the ventricle, that is preload, and the arterial pressure against which the ventricle must contract, the afterload, or both are severely altered from the normal, and we can assess the severity of disease like cardiac failure and hypertension by measuring the changes in preload and afterload of the heart muscle.